Welcome back to Road to Destruction, the World Wars. In our last episode, we explored Kaiser Wilhelm II's clash with France once again over Morocco in the Second Moroccan Crisis. But while Germany and France had their eyes on Africa, the powder keg of Europe was getting ready to explode. Today, we examine the First and Second Balkan Wars, and while Wilhelm and Germany weren't directly involved, his influence and decisions during would help to influence how it played out, as well as how it set up future events. Wilhelm's ambitions for global influence led him into one diplomatic disaster after another, from the Moroccan crises to his reckless naval arms race. But now, the flames of war are spreading to a region far closer to Germany's doorstep, the Balkans, a place Wilhelm barely understood, yet one where his blind support for Austria-Hungary would set the stage for catastrophe. Wilhelm, despite all his bluster and bravado, was walking straight into a nightmare of his own making. By the early 1900s, the Balkans were a powder keg. The Ottoman Empire, once the dominant force in the region, was crumbling, leaving behind a power vacuum. The newly independent Balkan states, Serbia, Bulgaria, Montenegro and Greece, saw an opportunity to carve up what remained of Ottoman Europe. But Austria-Hungary, Germany's closest ally, saw something else, a direct threat to its empire. Kaiser Wilhelm II had spent years viewing the Balkans through a dangerously simplistic lens. To him, the region was nothing more than a chaotic battleground where barbarians fought among themselves. But what truly mattered to Wilhelm was Austria-Hungary. If Vienna felt threatened, he believed Germany had no choice but to stand by its side. This blind loyalty would prove to be one of the greatest miscalculations of his reign. Unlike Bismarck, who had carefully balanced alliances to keep Germany secure, Wilhelm had little patience for diplomacy. He saw the Balkans not as a region requiring strategic finesse, but as an extension of the Austro-German alliance. To Wilhelm, Serbia, emerging as a powerful nationalist force, was the true enemy. He saw Serbian ambitions as a direct threat to Austria-Hungary and, by extension, Germany. Serbian nationalism had already caused trouble in the 1908 Bosnian crisis, and now, as war erupted in 1912, Wilhelm was convinced that Serbia's rise had to be stopped at all costs. What he failed to realize was that his unconditional backing of Austria-Hungary would alienate Germany further on the world stage. In October 1912, Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria and Greece, united in the so-called Balkan League, declared war on the Ottoman Empire. Their goal was to drive the Turks out of Europe. The war was swift and brutal. Within weeks, the Ottomans were in full retreat. The Balkan League crushed the Ottoman armies, capturing vast territories, including Macedonia, Kosovo and much of modern-day Albania. For Germany, this was an alarming development. Wilhelm had long cultivated close ties with the Ottoman Empire, investing heavily in projects like the Berlin-Baghdad Railway. The fall of Ottoman rule in the Balkans weakened Germany's influence in the region, threatening its strategic interests. Even worse, the war boosted Serbian confidence, something Austria-Hungary saw as an existential threat. Wilhelm, however, refused to acknowledge reality. Instead, he doubled down on supporting Austria-Hungary's ambitions, reassuring Emperor Franz Joseph that Germany would stand by him no matter what. This reckless commitment gave Austria-Hungary a dangerous level of confidence. With the Ottoman Empire on its knees, the great powers scrambled to contain the chaos. A peace conference was called in London in December 1912, where the victorious Balkan states met with the European powers to determine the region's new borders. Wilhelm had the perfect opportunity to use diplomacy to stabilize the situation. But instead, he played the role of an obstinate, short-sighted leader. Rather than working to ease tensions, he refused to mediate between Austria-Hungary and Russia, despite knowing that Russian-backed Serbia was gaining influence. He encouraged Austria-Hungary's aggressive stance on Serbia, reassuring Vienna that Germany would support any measures to counter Serbian expansion. His actions only deepened the divide between Germany and the rest of Europe. At the conference, the great powers decided to create an independent Albania to block Serbian access to the Adriatic Sea. This move was meant to appease Austria-Hungary, but had the opposite effect. Serbia, now bitter over losing its path to the sea, became more determined than ever to challenge Austria-Hungary's dominance. Instead of de-escalating tensions, the settlement only fueled more resentment, and Wilhelm, ever the impulsive leader, failed to see the warning signs. The peace in the Balkans didn't last long. Within months, Bulgaria, angry over the division of spoils from the First Balkan War, turned against its former allies, Serbia and Greece. The Second Balkan War erupted in June 1913, and this time the conflict was even more chaotic. Bulgaria attacked Serbia and Greece, hoping to seize Macedonia. Serbia and Greece struck back, and the Ottoman Empire, seizing the opportunity, re-entered the war to reclaim lost land. Meanwhile, Romania also joined the fight, invading Bulgaria from the north. In just 1 month, Bulgaria was defeated. The Treaty of Bucharest, signed in August 1913, redrew the Balkan map once again, with Serbia emerging stronger than ever. This was Wilhelm's worst nightmare. Serbia had humiliated Bulgaria, a German ally, and had expanded its influence across the region. The Serbian victory also made it an even greater beacon of nationalism, a force that directly threatened the stability of Austria-Hungary's multi-ethnic empire. Meanwhile, Russia, seeing Serbia as a key ally, became more aggressive in supporting Slavic nationalism. Austria-Hungary, more desperate than ever, became convinced that Serbia had to be crushed before it was too late. Wilhelm now found himself in a trap of his own making. As the Balkan Wars ended in 1913, Wilhelm faced a grim reality. Germany had gained nothing from the conflict, and its influence in the Balkans had weakened. The Ottoman Empire, once a key German partner, had suffered devastating territorial losses. At the same time, Austria-Hungary, instead of being reassured by Germany's support, had grown more aggressive in its determination to crush Serbia. The empire was now willing to take greater risks, fully expecting Germany to back it up. Meanwhile, Russia had fully committed itself to defending Serbia, meaning that any Austrian move against Serbia could trigger a wider war. Despite these warning signs, Wilhelm refused to change course. Instead of urging restraint, he continued promising Austria-Hungary his full support, even as tensions spiraled out of control. This decision would prove fatal. Because less than a year later, in June 1914, the consequences of Wilhelm's blind loyalty would explode in Sarajevo. The Balkan Wars set the stage for the next catastrophic event, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in June 1914, which would be the spark that ignited the First World War. The assassination, coming on the heels of these growing tensions and alliances, was the tragic moment that would send the world into a global conflict. In the next video, we will explore the assassination of the heir to the Austrian throne, how it led to a chain reaction of alliances being triggered, and how the political landscape of Europe unraveled in the wake of this single fateful event. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about how the world reached the breaking point in 1914, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when our next video drops. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive into the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the event that would ignite the First World War.